In this week's episode of Hill Country Homegirls, we are going to be going over Texas size trends.
Yes.
I'm Steph.
And I'm Kourtni.
And we are the Hill Country Homegirls. Let's dive right in. So, what are some trends that you're seeing in Hill Country real estate right now as far as who is moving here and why they're moving here?
So, depending on the area, Austin region, that's bringing more people that are working at Samsung and Tesla, those big plants that are out on the outskirts of Austin. More lake properties, more like retired people. They're just trying to find a place to relax and, get out of the hustle and bustle. But I see a lot of families too that move more further out of the hill, like out into the actual hill country, because they don't want to raise their family in all the madness of the city.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's kind of what we did specifically because we both had jobs that were certainly more so in town. But we definitely craved more of a natural lifestyle. And that is something that I see as well with our buyers at LTX Home Builders. Often with our families, it's not that they don't work in town. Some of them actually commute to in town from these outskirt areas. Others work remote. So we see a lot of young remote working families.
yes.
Coming in as well. And you just get that mix of lifestyle where you have a little room to stretch your legs.
Yes, I see a lot of people that they have the option for remote work, so then they are coming more to the outskirts, to the smaller towns like Bertram, Burnet, Marble Falls, because they don't have to go in, so they're taking full advantage of that, and I don't blame them.
Yeah,
I would too.
absolutely. Absolutely. So we see that. And then, of course, we're always going to have a good, like you said, retired population. That has pretty much always been in the Hill Country. It's a staple. And it's just a great place to retire. So I think it will always attract that a population that just by nature, if you don't have to work because you're retired, you do want to probably be somewhere that you have access to whatever you like to do.
Correct.
Anybody outdoorsy, the Hill Country is a great place for that. Also, anybody that's just seeking peace.
Yes.
Riders, I could see myself being a rider. I enjoy just the solitude of a small town life.
For sure.
So yeah, creatives definitely, I think, thrive. But
yes.
Yeah.
And, I feel like a lot of people that are retired, they want to be near a body of water.
Yeah.
And so whether it be like the beach or the Highland Lakes, that's a lot of retirees they want in these little waterfront communities.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of brings us to what are people buying? So let's talk about design trends, areas, qualities in a home or land that people are purchasing. What are some things that stand out to you as like, okay, this is what most people are buying right now, or maybe something up and coming that you're like, we haven't had a lot of this and we're seeing more of it now?
So for me, I live in Bertram, so a lot of people that are moving to the Bertram area, most of them are wanting some land so they can, stretch their legs, especially people that are coming from the city because they're on these tiny little lots. They're all squished in, so they want some room to breathe, especially families. Then the kids have room to, run around. A lot of those are going to be, rock homes, board and batten, that kind of thing. I do see a lot of barn doors too.
Yeah, and we're actually going to be doing a full deep dive on barn doors, barn doe or barn don't. They do come with their own risks.
They do, yes.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that episode because we're going to really get into it. I see a lot of them. So my mother lives in one. So
yeah,
I live in a fully rocked house. So I've seen
totally the best.
I've
of
essentially
both
lived in
worlds
both sides there. So
yeah.
But then when you get these lake communities, you're getting more cottage style homes. They're smaller. A lot of them are just these cute little cottages, and then you get more like Travis. You come closer to Austin, a lot of the homes on water are more contemporary, modern, much larger, much more stately than what you would get on, different lakes.
Absolutely.
Like we talked about last time.
Yeah.
Each lake has their own vibe.
Yes, and it's true. You'll see really ultra luxury on Lake Travis, Lake Austin especially.
Lake LBJ has a lot.
One thing I wanted to go back to kind of with the barn dough theme before we drop that vibe is I feel like it ties into this farmhouse idea, and I wanted to touch on, so modern farmhouse. Everybody can see that trend has died out, at least nationwide. It's like, okay, modern farmhouse is no more. People are going more towards organic modern. They're going in a different direction altogether. There's all sorts of different designs out there. Something interesting about the Texas Hill Country is that farmhouse itself is never going to be fully out of style because you are on acreage, you are in settings that are farm-like, even if you don't run an operating farm.
True.
When you are out in the prairies and in the hills, and you're on acreage, it feels like a farm. And your house, if it is ultra modern and looks like it belongs in like a high rise next to a high rise condo, it can look a little bit out of place. So you actually see, you're always going to have farmhouse elements that are going to be like gabled roofs. You're going to have cedar and wooden elements on the exterior.
Shiplap, all those things.
Yes. And even more than shiplap, I feel like we have we use a lot of limestone. There's just different farmhouse styles that aren't necessarily giving like the old Joanna Gaines when it first became trendy.
Yes.
Which is the died down version.
Yes. Now it's kind of meshed with other styles. Like you can walk into a brick home, but you're still going, because, we are the hill country, I feel. You still pick up like, oh, I remember when people were doing this in like farmhouses, but then it's just like a little section that's got that particular farmhouse thing.
Right.
It's not the whole entire house, but you'll still, no matter where you go in this area, you're going to always see some aspect of the farmhouse, I feel.
Yeah. And you have a lot of single story ranch style layouts in general, very homey layouts out here, especially on the acreage communities.
Yes.
Now, when you get into your lakefront, it's going to be more Airbnb friendly, usually more bedrooms, sometimes smaller, tighter spaces, because you're just trying to get more bedrooms in there, really, and
be able
smaller
to accommodate
lots.
Bigger groups. Because it's usually whole families that are coming to the lake for the summer, for their weekly, and every summer their annual lake trip. So you want to be able to accommodate large families. And I feel like, and I know because I deal with it all the time, most people that are coming, it's usually 10 plus. There's usually 10 plus people. It's usually, oh, well, we've got our family, and then my sister and her kids, and my brother and their kids, and our cousins are coming, and their kids are coming. So it grows exponentially.
Yeah, the lake house investment properties can do really well. So super important if you are looking into the investment niche to get with an agent that is experienced in that market, specifically with investor clients and running the numbers, especially if you're going to build from the ground up and looking at sizes. You need to make sure that it's appropriate and that you're planning well for a good strategy.
So you don't want to get a smaller lot and, try to go the cheapest route possible maybe and do like a 2-bed, 2-bath, because that's just not going to accommodate. I mean, it might accommodate like a small family like myself. If me and my husband and my daughter just wanted to go on a little weekend trip, you'll still get bookings, but you're definitely going to get more bookings the more you can house.
Right. And depends like if you're doing condo but building from the ground up, that's a whole different ball game. And also you're going to have, as far as trends with building investment properties, I still firmly believe the best place is lakefront in the whole country or Fredericksburg.
Yes.
So Fredericksburg is a great area because it will always have wineries, restaurants. That's where people vacation here. We talk about that.
Yes, it's a very touristy bachelorette party, birthday party. It's like a mini Nashville almost out there.
Now it is hard to find an investment property there though. So
It is.
if you get
It
one,
is.
great, but it's not one where we're like, hey guys, this is a hot spot. This is a trend. That is actually not a trend. Fredericksburg will just always be a solid, safe bet.
Yes.
A trend, I would say, a little bit newer is Wimberley. It's not super new, but I am seeing more interest
Yes.
in investors as they're getting pushed out of, Austin has quite a bit of policy in place to prevent certain types of short-term rentals. And that is making people who are interested in those types want to go to other areas to pursue that type of investment. And Wimberley is one of those where you can actually get riverfront on the Blanco. It's pronounced Blanco. I know it's really Blanco. It bothers me, but
No.
On the Blanco riverfront. And there are quite a few just gorgeous cottage style, smaller, kind of like what Kourtni was saying, don't do, but there are quite a few of those cottages right on the Blanco River, and that river is the turquoise one with limestone bottom, most of it, at least. There's quite a few properties over
So
there.
I feel like with Wimberley, I feel like that is more couples destination versus the lake is more family. So when I think of Wimberley, I think of, I'm going to have a date weekend with my husband.
Like cabin in the woods type vibe.
Exactly.
Like on sometimes a river, sometimes not. But yeah.
Yes,
absolutely. Darker, moodier, small. Even the downtown feels kind of like a storybook.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's different aesthetics
Like
for
a woodsy.
each little town has its own kind of thing going on. So, and I do see a lot of investors too coming out to like Bertram, Burnet, Marble Falls to hit those long-term renters. So people that are looking for 12-month plus, that's where those are good spots to invest because people are always looking for rentals in this area. Especially, we have hospitals, it's out of the city, but it's not that far of a commute to get to Cedar Park, Austin, people that are working at Samsung. I mean, I have people that work at Samsung that rent in Bertram. So, I mean, that is a little bit of a drive. And
we definitely need to talk about the Samsung effect too.
Yes.
So Taylor is getting a Samsung semiconductor plant. Are you so proud of me that I said
so
that
proud
right?
that you remembered it.
Thank you. I had to really activate my short-term memory on that one. But they are building this semiconductor plant, which is evidently a very, very, very big deal. And what is happening is the amount of jobs that are being created in Taylor from this plant. I mean, Taylor is a truly a small, sleepy town before this. I would say after the COVID situation, the post-pandemic pricing, yes, Taylor blew up like everywhere around Austin did. But once Samsung announced, which was around that time, it started picking up more speed than even the other areas. It was kind of similar to what happened with Tesla on the other side, south of Austin.
Yes, that's that massive gigafactory out there.
Right.
It's
huge. So what you're seeing now is around Taylor, it's like becoming its own little spider web, kind of like how I talk about with Austin. It's like the closer you are to the middle of the spider web, the more expensive it gets. Now Taylor has its own mini spider web.
Yes.
Where it's like, okay, Taylor real estate is really hot. That is a trend. That is hard to get right now. It's hard.
Very hard.
It's hard for builders to get lots that they want to build on. It's hard for developers to get lots to develop. All of it is a little bit tricky. So what people do, of course, is start buying around that. And so development is picking up speed in the very small towns surrounding that small town of Taylor. So we're seeing, Granger's picking up. What are some other ones around there?
Rockdale, Thorndale, those are all just tiny little towns. And then it's spreading out. Manor is getting it.
Oh, yeah. And they were already, because Manor, for those who are listening, Manor is basically what you have to pass through for if you're coming from Houston to Austin.
Correct, yes. It's on 290.
Yeah, it's on 290, so it is one of those necessary pass-through towns, but it's not hill country, it's flat.
Yes.
So it's not one of our regions, and it shows. Let me tell you, nothing against Maynard, but it shows you what the hill country is and isn't, because there is no hill. It's like flat.
Yes, it's very flat out there.
And I don't know how to describe it, but we don't need to, because it's not in the hill country.
We don't care. Yeah, so Maynard, I mean, it's you're out of hill country when you're in Maynard.
But it's spreading. That's our
It
point.
is, yes.
It's even spreading to like the less desirable areas around there. So that is a huge hotspot. And that Samsung effect, we are going to see take place every time we have a big announcement.
Yes.
We had the Hollywood announcement, some big studio going into Bastrop. There seems to be a lot of interest in larger corporations.
Yes, a
moving
lot of large corporations are moving from, California and other places to around the Austin metro area.
I will say it's not as many announcements as we were getting like right after COVID. It was boom, 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 boom. You would hear about a huge company coming from Silicon Valley to Austin like every month or week for a little while. Now it's kind of slowing down a little bit, but they're still making progress on a lot of these projects. So the real estate community is feeling the impact and will continue to feel the impact as these things grow and change.
Yeah. And like our market it is so different from, say, California. It is night and day different. And I mean, I'm going through a transaction right now that I've got buyers from California. They're listing their home and we put a contingency offer in. And so the purchase of their home here is contingent on the sale of their house there, so they can use those funds to purchase this house.
Right, a common thing.
So California, I called their agent in California. I'm like, okay, so what's your, average days on market out there? She's like, oh, maybe a week. And I'm like,
it's crazy.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't show any concerns here, because our days on market are, it's a lot more than that. I mean, not crazy, but anywhere from, depending on what region what area of the hill country you're in. Some are 50 to 60 days. Some are 90 to
180.
Yeah,
even. Yeah.
And I mean, and that you're getting out in smaller towns. So, but it's just night and day difference. So when people, and it's a lot more affordable here than say California. It
is a great lateral move if you are coming in.
Yes.
It's not as easy to leave right now and to sell. We're not going to sugarcoat it for you. But it is certainly an amazing time to buy.
Yes.
And that's just the truth. That is really the truth. There's so many options out there right now. Sellers are willing to do a little bit more.
Things always pick up, especially right before summertime, and especially around, in these lake communities, because people want to get their lake house and be able to get in, do the little things they want to do, and be settled before summertime, so they've got a place to go. Or, investors that are buying Airbnbs, they want to be ready before summer so they can already have those bookings on their calendar. So yeah, it's picking up for sure.
And I know what we are building, we're definitely a part of the growth. Luckily for us, we build sustainably, so we don't go in and blast a bunch of trees away and put 100 houses up all at once. That's not really our style. We respectfully build in the communities that we go into.
Which is one of the reasons that I love you guys, because there's no point to me in just scalping a beautiful piece of land, shoving all these houses in, and then putting brand new stick trees, because by the time nobody's going to get to enjoy those trees. Those trees aren't going to be amazing for like 100 years.
I shake my head every time I see it. Yeah, we try to leave as many trees as we can.
Yes.
Now, that being said, we have to build a house. If you buy a lot that the whole entire thing, because this is the hill country, sometimes the whole lot is wooded.
Yes.
And you're going to have to put a site and keep the best trees, clean it up.
For sure.
But that's just grooming and upkeeping the land, essentially, and using it to its highest and best use, in my opinion. But I think it's important that we address, potential challenges with the growth. As we're discussing all the trends and the positive, I think that rapid growth is the one thing that a lot of residents I'm seeing a trend in concerns about water, right? Are you seeing that a lot in your area?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm in Bertram, and that is, we have a neighborhood from a mega builder that is coming in, and in the summertime, we usually go through, a pretty good drought in the summertime. It usually gets pretty dry around here. So people do get very concerned, you're putting all these houses on our water system, and like, what are we going to do? So that's raised huge flags for my community. But then you have other things too, like you have other businesses in the outskirts, like wanting to put in rock crushing plants. And they're wanting to do this on these beautiful roads with beautiful views, and then it's just surrounded by acreage and homes on these acreage, and then now they're going to have these rock crushing plants in their backyard. And that is growth. We understand
growing pains.
We understand, things got to grow. People have to purchase things to grow their business, and that's just life.
Yeah.
But I do see it does affect people for sure. And then it also affects the real estate there too, because if they put, a big rock crushing plant, 500 yards behind your house, and you are like, no, we're done, we're selling, someone's going to come along and be like, well, I don't want to live 500 yards away from a rock crushing plant. And then now you've kind of hit. So
you're exactly right.
Growth
That is
causes some issues for sure.
A big thing about the hill country is that one of the greatest parts is that you have all this land, and one of the scariest parts is sometimes it borders a huge piece of land, which is a massive blessing if it's an old farm family and that land's been in the same hands for generations, and it's pretty unlikely probably that this land will change hands. It always could. Now, if it's like an investor owns the land, you want to just look into it. That's something to be cautious of. Stay also engaged, with your city and local representatives.
Yes.
There are zoning meetings for this stuff, development. It happens loud and publicly for the most part. Some things do kind of go a little bit under the radar more than probably people would like. But as long as you are paying attention.
Yes,
and
definitely pay attention.
And use your voice too.
I know we have monthly city council meetings in Bertram, and they'll post the agenda prior to the meeting, so you'll be able to see like, oh, so and so LLC is requesting replat of and making it into multiple lots, so you can go and you can figure out what's happening. But I do always tell my clients, especially the closer we get to Austin and all of the outskirts like Leander, Cedar Park, things like that, even coming out towards this way. Like I just looked at a neighborhood the other day, brand new neighborhood, and I could see a major road on like the plat map for the neighborhood to pick your lot. So I emailed the agent, and I'm like, hey, why is it showing this road right here? This road is not even close to this. Lakeline Boulevard, huge road that goes through Leander. And they're like, oh yeah, they're expanding Lakeline over the next few years. So, and it's going to be all the way out like Baghdad going towards Liberty Hill. Like, that's way off the radar for anyone that's just moving here. They're not going to be like, oh yeah.
For people who are listening, Lakeline is a pretty large road in the suburb of Cedar Park, and also in northwest Austin is mostly where it is right now. So Cedar Park is a large suburban community.
Yes.
It's a city, but it's really a large suburb. It has all your big shopping malls and all the things that a city would have, except for a skyline, really.
Yeah.
And having more announcements of roads, these major road connections, because this isn't the first. There's a bunch of other connections making their ways throughout. This is great news for my commute, and I'm excited about it. A lot of people don't love this stuff, but I do. As long as, again, it's all about sustainable growth.
Yes.
And that's never a trend. That's something that needs to stay permanent and always at the focus. And for us, it always will with LTX. I can't say for anybody else, but we'll keep an eye on it and tell you guys what's going on. That's for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, like I was saying, I always look at the surrounding parcels, especially when I have clients that are buying in these newer neighborhoods, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we want this back corner lot because it looks like it backs to a lot of land." Look who the owners of that land is. Look back, that's I do.
Yeah, I think it's important as well.
And I feel like as an agent, that is part of my duty to my buyers is to backtrack. Like I know I had some buyers, they were looking at another neighborhood on the outskirts of Leander, backed up to, I think, like 100 acres. It was in an LLC that was recently purchased in the last couple of years. I said I would put my life on it that is eventually going to be a subdivision, and what you're currently backed up to is a great big piece of land. There's nobody beside you. In 5 years, you might have 4 houses backed up to your property line.
Right.
So I always look at that because there are still quite a few big pieces of land that have been owned since Texas was formed.
Yeah, we're building on one of them that changed hands for the first time in the 90s. The Point in Bertram has a history like that. And luckily, the way that it was divided is not in tiny cookie cutter lots. It's going to be beautiful.
Everybody's
They're
spread
acreage
out.
lots. Yep, it's an equestrian community. So that's the good thing. Some developers go in and they buy these tracts of land, and they really try to use it for the highest and best use again, I think, and come up with creative ways that highlight the natural surroundings and the benefits of that land, whatever they are.
I feel like that needs to be a trend with these mega builders.
Yes.
Versus going in and scalping the beauty that is the Texas Hill Country and
work
then
with it.
Shoving everybody in there super tight and planting these stick trees versus giving everybody maybe a little bit bigger lot and keeping the good trees. Very seldom do I see these mega builders save any big tree.
And putting amenities that make sense. I love the trend of the equestrian centers.
Yes.
I am seeing that a lot of the newer acreage communities, including ones we aren't building in personally, but that, I would love for us to build in more of, that is a way of working with the Texan roots of horse ownership and just a love for horses and being able to bring them home so that you're not having to board your horse far away from you. Because a lot of people that have horses, they don't live on a ranch. Not every single person with a horse is rich and lives on 100 acres.
True.
Most people that own horses board them.
Yeah, a lot of people do. Especially the closer you get to Austin, it's very common to have boarding facilities.
Yeah, we have a lot of them in the hill country.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have just opportunities on your land and in your community to keep your horse being expanded. And in general, we won't go much more into this because everybody kind of knows livestock and Texas, but off the grid, I would incorporate kind of going from horses to livestock and off the grid living as maybe our final trend that we hit on, because it can go from low end to extreme.
It can.
So the principle is a lot of people here want to rely on outside forces and sources as little as possible. So that includes water, electricity, food, everything.
Yes. So you can a lot of people they drill their own wells on their properties because most of the hill country sits on top of an aquifer. So we have access to groundwater, which is incredible, but they're not having to pay city water bills. A lot of people are going solar. It's reducing their electricity bills, and they also can, feed off of that as well. A lot of people do have generators, whole home generators.
Whole home generators are huge.
What else do we have?
Whole home purifiers.
Yes, purifiers for the water.
Versus water softeners. We're seeing just the whole home purifiers now. It's a different type.
Yes.
It's not the old school water softener that you fill with salt.
True.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a big thing. And then people just want the little extra space so they can have their gardens and, have their own fruits and vegetables and not have to rely on it. It also really does help with your monthly bills too, because You're not having to
Absolutely.
pay a water bill. If you've got solar, your electricity bill is little to none. And a lot of people are going on septic systems too for wastewater,
Yep.
because then, then you're only paying like
And
a
again,
very small.
that's where it's like, how much do you want to go
Yeah, you can go
into
full
it?
on
Do you really
or
want to
not.
have septic? Like, I'm on septic, but it's not by choice, you know? I would love to rely on my community to not have to deal with that,
Yes.
actually.
Yes.
But, high-speed internet. So one thing is Starlink. I don't know nationally if it's as real to people as it is for us. I don't know how many people need it. But in Burnet and Bertram, like, you guys are one of the...
We're very
You guys
rural
have...
out there, so
Do you have it yet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The more rural that you get, I mean, it's very limited on who can provide internet. And especially when you get out, I mean, there's some very large ranches in this area. So, I mean, you get out on 100, 200 plus acres. I mean, that's a long way to run lines to get you internet. So Starlink is very popular because you can just pop that sucker up and do an app on your phone, and it tells you where to point it, and you're done, and you have high-speed internet.
And another crazy thing about Starlink with the Hill Country that I learned when I was selling in Bertram specifically, there was a house that it was kind of in a valley, and the nearest satellite, because at the time all you could get was HughesNet style satellite. Well, it was on the next hill, and so it missed because the house I was listing was in the valley. From satellite to satellite, it totally missed. So there was no internet. And what I learned from the Starlink, whoever helped us set that up, I ended up setting it up for my client because they were elderly and they were so confused, and so was I. But I'm like, I think I can figure this out though.
Yeah.
And they taught me something interesting. The reason Starlink works so well, which is, because they're in the sky, is because it can go into those canyons, because you're not just going line of sight,
Right.
where it's literally a line of sight. If a hill is missing it, you're not going to get it. If you're deep down, you're not going to get it. When it's from the sky, it's not going to miss you.
True.
So it has vastly improved internet accessibility to the Hill Country.
Yes.
Having different type of internet that we now have available.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really needed out there.
It really was. And that helps a lot of people too that do live out far and don't have to commute. Now they have access to very high-speed internet.
Very high speed. And I'm telling you, this is new. Because just a couple years ago, or even last year, I mean, I know there's not every house has Starlink yet, but there was still trouble with the lower speed internet. And now you're just seeing more and more, getting access. So that's a great thing. We're able to live in the more modern world now, further away.
True.
And I think it really speaks to, younger generations, millennials, Gen Zers who grew up in the age of technology, the rise of technology. We're all exhausted by technology. We work on technology all day. I'm on a screen all day, every day. I do not want to be on a screen when I'm off work. I want to be the furthest from a screen as I can, actually. And this is just the place. This is a place to do it. A wonderful place to do it. Yeah.
Yes, it very much is.
Trends
I
or
love
not,
it.
I think I'm going to stay.
I mean, I've been here my whole life. I'm not going nowhere.
That's true. I just got lucky enough to land here.
I'm glad.
I'm happy.
And
now I have you.
I feel like it is much better for one's mental health to be here versus in the chaos of city life.
And we can't wait to meet you guys. So if you are ever visiting the Hill Country area, or especially if you're interested in moving here, always feel free to reach out to us. We will drop our contact information in the show notes.
And Hill Country Homegirls is fully sponsored by LTX Home Builders, incredible home builder in this area. You can always view all of the inventory that we've got at ltxhomebuilders.com. And until next time, I'm Kourtni.
And I'm Steph.
And we're the Hill Country Homegirls.
We will see you guys on next week's episode.
Bye.
Bye.